Imagine standing on a beach, looking out at what should be a vast, pristine ocean. Instead, you see waves lapping against the shore, bringing with them countless pieces of plastic, bottles, bags, and broken fragments of everyday items. This isn't an imagined scenario, it's the reality for many coastal regions worldwide. The problem is it's so pervasive that by 2050, the weight of plastic in our oceans could exceed that of fish. This alarming statistic, shared by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, highlights the urgency of this issue. Think about your last takeout meal. Did it come with a plastic fork, a straw, perhaps a plastic bag to carry it home? These small, seemingly insignificant items are part of a larger problem, one that connects to each of us. Every piece of single-use plastic that you've discarded still exists somewhere, whether in a landfill, an ocean, or as microplastics in the water we drink. To drive the point home, let's picture this. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a swirling mass of plastic debris, is now twice the size of Texas. It's so large and dense that marine animals mistake it for food, consuming deadly amounts of plastic. This haunting image is not a distant problem, but a direct result of human choices. Choices we can change. Plastic pollution isn't just an environmental issue, it's a human issue, affecting our health, economy, and future. To understand why, let's explore the scope of this problem, its impacts, and how we can work together to create meaningful change. Let's explore the depth of this issue caused by single-use plastics, identifying specific problems that affect us globally and locally now. So harm number one is its devastating impact on marine life. Plastic pollution is a death sentence for marine animals. Every year, over 100,000 marine creatures die from plastic ingestion or entanglement, according to National Geographic. Turtles mistake plastic bags for jellyfish, and seabirds feed small plastic fragments to their chicks. Imagine a whale's stomach filled with over 80 pounds of plastic. This isn't a fiction, but a reality documented in many coastal regions. These deaths are not just tragic, but disrupt entire ecosystems, impacting species that play essential roles in maintaining the health of our oceans. And here I have a nice infographic, here's what it's from, showing you the breakdown of plastics, how plastic is made of toxins, and how much plastic actually ends up in the ocean. Plastic pollution doesn't just stop at marine life, it enters our bodies. Studies conducted by the World Health Organization revealed that 93% of bottled water contains microplastics, and tap water isn't far behind at 83%. These tiny fragments, invisible to the naked eye, travel up the food chain. When fish consume plastics and we eat the fish, we're unknowingly consuming harmful chemicals linked to long-term health issues like hormonal disruption and cancer. So, that was harm number 2, microplastics in the food chain. But harm number 3 is worsening climate change. This one is apparently a controversial issue, which is surprising. Plastic production is a significant contributor to climate change. According to the International Energy Agency, plastic manufacturing accounts for 3.8% of global greenhouse emissions. That's equivalent to the output of 189 coal power plants annually. From extraction to disposal, plastics rely on fossil fuels, intensifying the climate crisis. Imagine the irony. A product designed for convenience now fuels a global catastrophe. My apologies for the slideshow. That should not have been moving ahead. Harm 4 is overflowing landfills. Plastic waste that doesn't end up in our oceans clogs our landfills. The EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency, reports that only 9% of plastic waste is recycled, leaving billions of tons buried in landfills or scattered across our landscapes. This creates unsightly mounds of trash, leaching toxic chemicals into the soil and water. Communities near these landfills suffer the most, experiencing polluted air and contaminated water sources. Lastly, harm number 5 is the financial costs and the lost opportunities. Cleaning up plastic pollution drains resources. Governments and organizations spend billions annually to manage waste and clean oceans. For example, the United Nations estimates that marine plastic pollution costs the global economy $13 billion a year. This money could be used to improve healthcare, education, or infrastructure, but instead it's being funneled into managing a preventable problem. And it needs to be funneled there, currently. Until the problem is fixed, it does need to be taken care of. However, this can be fixed, this can be prevented. We can do something about this. So this right here, as I was saying earlier, is all about, how it's increased over 100% in the past 40 years, what we can do, what it is doing to us, what it's doing to the ocean. I find this infographic very helpful in conveying the information well. But anyways, so now that we understand the urgency and scope of the problem, the question is, what can we do about it? Let's dive into the practical, actionable solutions that can reverse this tide of destruction. Addressing the pervasive problem of single-use plastics requires a multifaceted approach involving individuals, corporations, and governments. Let's break these down step by step, ensuring they are achievable and impactful. The first step is advocating for local governments to restrict or outright ban single-use plastics like bags, straws, and utensils. Cities like Seattle, San Francisco, and Boston have already enacted bans on items like plastic bags and straws, reducing their local plastic waste significantly. For instance, Seattle's plastic straw ban reduced waste by over 2 million straws annually. Next, petition your local government. That's what you need to do. Your first step, Petition your local government or council. Start small with neighborhood initiatives and gradually expand. Grassroots effects often influence policymakers to take stronger legislative action. If progressive policies work in one city, they can succeed in others. Step number 2 is to transition to reusable alternatives. For those of us as individuals, this is one of the easiest yet most powerful changes we can make. Start small but significant. Reduce single-use plastics with items like metal straws, reusable cloth shopping bags, and refillable water bottles. While reusable items have a higher upfront cost, they save money in the long run. For instance, using a $10 reusable bottle instead of spending $1.50 daily on plastic bottles can save up to $500 annually. If every household eliminated just one plastic bag per week, it would prevent billions of plastic bags from entering the environment each year. If we adopt sustainable habits collectively, we can make an enormous difference. The private sector has a massive role to play in reducing plastic waste. Major corporations have both the resources and the influence to lead the charge. Companies like Unilever and Nestle, I'm sure I pronounced the first one wrong, have committed to making all their packaging recyclable or compostable by 2025. Others, like Adidas, have introduced product lines made entirely from ocean recycled plastics. As consumers, we have the power to reward responsible companies with our business. Choose to support brands that prioritize sustainability. If corporations as large as Nestle can adapt, smaller businesses can follow suit. Step 4 is to improve recycling infrastructure. A lack of effective recycling systems contribute to the accumulation of plastic waste. Currently, only 9%, I wish it was 90. Only 9% of plastic is recycled globally, largely due to inadequate sorting facilities and public awareness. So we need to advocate for better community recycling programs. For instance, cities with advanced recycling programs have reported a 25% increase in recycled materials within 2 years. Encourage investment in advanced recycling technologies such as chemical recycling, which can break down plastics into reusable raw materials. Better infrastructures directly leads to less waste. Step 5, take part in community action. so you can participate or host cleanup drives in local parks, rivers, and beaches. A single event can remove hundreds of pounds of plastic waste from our natural spaces. Beyond systematic changes, community-led efforts can make a tangible difference. You can also raise awareness through education campaigns, workshops, and local events, these of which can inform people about the harm caused by single-use plastics and encourage sustainable habits. Imagine a clean, litter-free park after a community cleanup effort. Imagine this polluted beach becoming this one again. This lovely, clear beach. Step 6 is to advocate for biodegradable innovations, which means that we need to support and promote new materials that can replace plastics entirely. Innovations like plant-based plastics, edible packaging, and biodegradable alternatives offer promising solutions to the single-use plastic crisis. Push governments and corporations to invest in research and development of these technologies. Financial incentives like tax breaks for green innovation can accelerate their adoption. Investment today results in sustainable breakthroughs tomorrow. Now that we've seen how we can tackle this issue, let's imagine the impact of these changes. What would the future look like if we collectively took action? Conversely, what would it look like if we continue down our current path? Let's explore. Let's close our eyes and imagine a world where we've successfully tackled the single-use plastic crisis. Picture this: pristine beaches, no longer littered with plastic bottles or bags. Our coastlines are clean and vibrant. Children can build sandcastles without stumbling over waste, and turtles return to lay their eggs in safe, undisturbed sands. Thriving marine ecosystems. Dolphins and whales swim freely, unthreatened by entanglement or ingestion of harmful plastics. Coral reefs flourishing, their vibrant colors restored, supporting diverse species. Healthier communities with less microplastic contamination. Our food and water are safer, reducing potential health risks for ourselves and our loved ones. According to a study by the Ocean Conservancy, implementing widespread plastic reduction measures could prevent millions of tons of waste from entering the ocean annually. Now let's imagine the alternative, a world where we ignore this growing crisis. Toxic oceans. By 2040, the amount of plastic waste in our oceans could double, according to research. Picture shorelines overflowing with garbage and seas so polluted that marine life struggles to survive. Microplastics increasingly contaminate the food we eat, the water we drink, and even the air we breathe. Scientists have already found microplastics in human blood, a phenomenon that could escalate into serious health crises. And ecosystems could collapse. Entire species are pushed to extinction due to the unrelenting accumulation of waste. Coral reefs, known as the rainforest of the seas, could wither away completely, leaving marine ecosystems barren. The International Union for Conservation of Nature reports that over 14 million tons of plastic enter the ocean annually, with catastrophic effects on biodiversity. What's particularly encouraging about the power of collaboration is the power of collaboration. I misremembered that, I'm so sorry. Imagine if every nation followed Rwanda's example of banning single-use plastic bags or investing in a large-scale cleanup project like the Netherlands Ocean Cleanup Project. With a very simple name, sorry. Countries like Kenya and Bangladesh, which enforce strict regulations on plastic use, have already seen measurable benefits, such as reduced flooding due to cleaner drainage systems. If high-income countries lead the change with innovation and investment, they can inspire and support developing nations to adopt sustainable practice, amplifying the global impact. Research from the World Bank shows that every dollar invested in waste management systems can save up to $5 in environmental and health costs in the future. This demonstrates that if smaller nations can succeed, global scale implementation is possible. That's what that means. It's within our reach. We hold the power to shape the future whether through individual action or collective policy. This is our moment to turn the tide, to rewrite the narrative for ourselves and for generations to come. It starts with envisioning what we can achieve: a world free from the devastating impacts of single-use plastics. Let's start with small, actionable changes you can make today. Eliminate single-use plastics in your daily life. Switch to reusable bags, water bottles, and straws. Keep them with you to avoid relying on disposable items. The Center for Biological Diversity estimates that using reusable bags can save 500 plastic bags per person annually. Per year. That's a small step with significant results. Quantitative data highlights how even one person can make a substantial impact. Next, we also need to choose sustainable alternatives, which I know, rather similar to the previous step. However, this one is more about opting for items made from glass, bamboo, or from biodegradable materials. Every sustainable choice reduces the demand for single-use plastics. Imagine replacing disposable cutlery with bamboo utensils during your next picnic. It's a small act, but it sends a powerful message, and you'll be able to use those more in the future for other things. And overall, it saves you money, and it's worth it for the environment. Push your local government to pass restrictions or bans on single-use plastics such as bags, straws, and utensils. California's plastic bag ban resulted in a 72% reduction in bag consumption, demonstrating the effectiveness of such policies. If one state can achieve this, so can your community. Write letters or attend town hall meetings to advocate for innovation in sustainable materials and stricter regulations on plastic use. Policies like Canada's recent ban on single-use plastics have already spurred global conversation about sustainability. Engage citizens, influence policymakers, and drive change. What you can do personally also is to join or organize events to remove plastic waste from local parks, beaches, or rivers, like we already mentioned. And if you do this, you can help contribute to what the Ocean Conservancy has already reported about its annual International Coastal Cleanup, removing over 300 million pounds of trash since 1986. You can become a part of the people there. So shop with companies that use recyclable or biodegradable packaging and voice your preference for eco-friendly products. Studies show that consumer demand for sustainable practices drives more corporations to adopt environmentally friendly policies. Your choices as a consumer create ripples in the market. Share what you've learned today on social media or with friends and family. Host workshops or discussions in your community to spread the message. A 2019 study by the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that peer influence significantly impacts sustainable behavior. One spark of inspiration can light a fire for widespread change. Work with schools, workplaces, and community organizations to implement recycling programs and discourage single-use plastics. Many schools have adopted campaigns like plastic-free lunch days, teaching children about environmental responsibility. Why act now? Because the fight against single-use plastics isn't just an environmental cause, it's a moral obligation. Each action we take, no matter how small, contributes to a larger movement for change. Imagine being able to tell your grandchildren that you were part of the generation that turned the tide on plastic pollution. As Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that it ever has. Now is the time to act. Not tomorrow, not next year, but today. Let's seize this opportunity to transform our habits, inspire our communities, and leave a legacy of sustainable behavior for future generations.